Are you looking for a tax-free way to save for your child's or your higher education? Are you looking for a good way to save for 12 through K private school? Well, in this episode, financial advisor Kevin Matthews of Building Bread shares what a 529 plan is, its tax benefits, and a new federal tax change that may make it beneficial to save for 12 through K private school. This episode is brought to you by buildingbread.com. Figuring out your finances can be tough, so learn from Kevin Matthews, one of the top 100 most influential financial advisors at Building Bread. Learn how to take control of your investments, retirement accounts, and everything in between. For a free discovery call, go to buildingbread.com. Welcome to the Financial Fornicating with Madam Money podcast, where fun financial tips are shared for sexier and healthier relationships with your money and credit. I am your host, Tara Jackson, aka Madam Money, and guess what? We are talking about the 411 on 529 plans. If you're not familiar with 529 plans, this is what you can use to help save towards your child's college education, future education, but there's been some recent changes to it, so that's why we're doing this podcast. And I have the expert on here with me, Mr. Kevin Matthews, the second of Building Bread. Hey, Kev, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And what I love about Kevin is that we've been Facebook friends for years. And I don't even know if we've met in person before, but it's like, it's like I talk to him every day or I interact with him every day. So it's like he's family. So we are of that colorful money community and now Elevate. So it's really awesome to finally have a conversation about you. I reached out to you because one of my listeners had a great question about 529 plans. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you that. But before we do that, tell the world how awesome you are and who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Kevin Matthews II. I'm the founder and creator of Building Bread, which I started way back in 2010. I think I was, a sophomore? Yeah, sophomore in college, actually. So I've been doing this for a little bit now. I'm one of the top 100 most influential financial advisors, and I've written 2 books.
Awesome. He's written 2 books. I think I've written a book and a half, but I'm still trying to be like him when I grow up. So that's really cool. Before we go into the question, tell us a little bit, or tell us, what is a 529 plan?
Yeah, so the name 529 comes from the tax code, same way with like a 401k. So it's just a tax number is where it comes from. However, it's an account that allows you to invest for the purposes initially for college, but the rules have changed and you can use it for a few more things. But basically, it's a place where you can kind of grow your money for the purposes of education now. It gives you the ability to save without paying taxes. And then when you use the money for education, you also can withdraw it without paying taxes as well. So it's the combination between an education account and a tax-deferred, tax-free account. So you can grow it without paying taxes and use it without paying taxes if you're using it for education.
So if you're using for education only, so that almost sounds like an IRA where you defer your taxes.
Exactly.
And then when you take it out later, you have to pay taxes. But this, as long as you use it for educational purposes, you don't have to pay taxes later either.
Correct.
So it's a way to avoid paying taxes for educational purposes.
Correct.
A legal way to avoid paying taxes.
Right.
Let's clear that up.
Right.
And so what if I have a child that I did a 529 plan for, and it's time for them to go to college, and they're like, Mom, you know what? I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to be the new Zuckerberg, and I'm going to open, do a Facebook, and I don't want to go to college within that. So what are people's options if their child does not want to go to college, or they can't use it now for educational purposes?
Yeah, and that's a big concern, because a lot of people now are like, well, I didn't go to college, or I went to college and it didn't work for me. Now I have all this debt, so I'm not going to encourage my child to go, or my child just doesn't feel like going. And that's 100% fine. The key is for a 529, either A, you can switch the title of it. So the 529 is in your name as the parent with the child as the beneficiary. You can switch the beneficiary as many times as you want. So if your first child doesn't want to go, switch it to the next one. That child doesn't want to go, switch it to yourself. Go back to school if you want to.
Oh, okay.
Or you can switch it to a nephew or anyone you choose to. So you can continue to switch it, and you can also use it for things like trade school as well.
That's cool. And this is really important for us I call us the mature money. I call some of y'all the young money, but the mature money, us that are in our 40s and stuff. If we had a 529 plan, we saved it for our child. The child did, and like, for example, I have my only son. And if my only son did not want to go to college, I can actually change the beneficiary over to me and use that money to get an advanced degree. Right. Even though, can I use it for like master's degrees, doctorates, as long as for educational purposes, as well as trade schools, right?
Correct.
Okay. So, but you can't use it for like conferences, even though it's educational, we wouldn't be able to use it for like conferences.
Right. Okay. Can't use it for conferences, can't use it for like a certification or a certificate, at least not now until laws change.
Okay. And speaking of the laws changing, that leads me into the question that one of our listeners had. Her name is Shalera. What is Shalera? Shalera Knowles. No, she is not related to Beyonce Knowles. Same last name, but Shalera Knowles had a great question. Her question was, can I use the money from the 529 plan to pay for K through 12 private school? And how will it impact income taxes? I thought that was a very good question, but that relates to something recently that's changed in the laws, right?
Yes, definitely. So the law recently changed due to the tax overhaul very recently, I think back in December, January-ish. But normally, before that happened, 529 plans could only be used for higher education purposes. So we're typically talking about colleges in that instance. The law changed to where you can now withdraw $10,000 from your 529 for K through 12, which is typically for private schools since you don't really pay for public schools. Now, that is for people who are going to private school, there are some pros and cons to that. One, you can now save and use that money to pay for K through 12. The problem is, though, if you're using that money for K through 12, that's going to be less money that you can use for college.
Right.
So you're basically front loading that. You're paying it now and you're going to have less later. So that's the first thing you want to worry about. The second thing is that though the federal government now says that you can withdraw that without paying federal taxes, you have to check and make sure your state allows you to do that. Not every state has complied, or they call it piggybacking when the state decides to go ahead and take that federal law. Not every state says they wanted to do that yet. So I think there are 7 or 8 states that are on board with it now. You want to call your 529 provider in your state to see if, Missouri or Kansas or wherever you are also complies with it. Because what you could do is take out the $10,000, use it for K through 12. You may not pay federal taxes, but your state may charge you a penalty and they may charge you taxes instead.
Oh, okay. So that's very important, is that even though the federal, and that's just how the government works, even though the federal says, yes, we're not going to tax you, the state has to say we're going to do the same thing, or they can choose not to. So, and is it 10,000 per year or 10,000 total?
10,000 per year.
Okay. So if I decide to take $10,000 out for private school per year or whatever, and my state does not piggyback, I'm not going to have to pay federal tax on it, but I may have to pay that penalty. Is it a penalty and a tax for state?
It could depend on the state. So the state may charge a penalty, and they are most likely definitely going to charge you the taxes as well.
So it's just like an IRA. You get a penalty for early withdrawal.
Exactly.
And you have to pay taxes on it as earned income.
Right.
Okay.
But it won't be coming from the federal side in this case.
Okay. So be sure, if you're planning on doing that, to look into your 529, you said 529 provider in your state.
Correct.
To see if they have piggybacked on the federal law. Awesome. And I like that, if you have a newborn and you may want to put them in private school, you can start saving for them for the newborn, and you can start putting that money for their private school. And when they start that private school, you can start saving again or keep saving for the college. But like you said, if you take it early, then that's less for you to have later on for college. So how I would probably do that logic is I'm going to put my son or my daughter in a really good private school while they're young so they can get really good grades and so they can get scholarships and go to college for free. Yeah, in a perfect world, that sounds great. But reality,
right. In reality, the math is not going to work out in your favor.
In reality, my kid didn't do so well in private school. And so you gotta determine your pros and cons with that.
And you want to look at the math too. So you can put in, without paying gift tax, you can put in $14,000 per year. If you're taking out $10,000 per year, you're only saving $4,000 for college every year, which that's more than what my parents saved. But,
for real, right?
You know,
I
wouldn't have student loans.
Zero.
Right. I was like, oh, it's college, it's $300.
Right, exactly.
So I mean, if you're starting from day one, $4,000 for that 12 years and whatnot, like that's going to be something, but you're reducing that. So if you can spend $14,000 from K through 12, have saved that for college, you're going to be a lot better off. But if you're spending $10,000 of that, you're taking a majority of that and doing it for K through 12 and not being able to use it for college. And one of those things is provided for free. Like I did public school, and I'm not going into the public-private debate, but I know I can get a decent school for free, whereas it's more difficult for me to get a college education for free.
Absolutely. And more than likely, you're not going to get a college education for free. So it's probably best to really save towards the college degree. But, I do know some parents that, they are in that debate and they prefer a private school. And it's your preference. It's math. And
location.
And look, absolutely.
Yeah, because not every location is the same as far as quality schools around you.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing that little bit of tidbit on the 411 on 529 plans. And hopefully this will help some people if they do need to use it. Maybe they'll find a private school that's less than $10,000 per year.
Hopefully so.
Hopefully. I don't know, not with inflation, but maybe that's the case, and they'll still be able to save for college. The great thing is that you have parents really thinking about saving for their children's education. So that's the biggest thing right now. So Kevin, tell everybody how they can continue to stay up with you, connect with you, or maybe utilize your services.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Building Bread. And we are launching our brand new website coming up this week at buildingbread.com.
Yay! I can't wait to see your website. And I have to ask all of my money nerds, are you going to FinCon?
I am considering it.
Okay.
I'm considering. Are you going? Yeah,
I think I'm going unless something happens, but I just like to hug everybody's neck. So
right. We had some things shifting around where I was going to move because I was going to go to graduate school. Then things changed, so now my calendar is relatively open. So we may end up going.
And congratulations on your new mini-me.
Thank you.
He is adorable. What is his name?
He's Kevin the third.
Lord, there's another Kevin out there. And he looks like his daddy too. He's so cute. So congratulations on everything, your new website, your success. You are the bomb.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to connect with him, make sure you go to Building Bread. That's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, BUILDING BREAD, Building Bread. Hey, everyone. Thank you again for listening to another podcast of Financial Fornicating with Madam Money. Good Lord. It's a Saturday. Gotta love it. And you're probably listening to this on a Monday, but thank you for listening and thank you for sharing. Hey, I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. We'll talk to you soon.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.